So first off, we have Dark. What do you have for us?
Oh boy, speaking of gaming, I have a game tie-in, maybe, sort of, kind of, IP. Not really sure yet, but I have Synduality Noir. I don't know what Synduality means, but that's what I have. And
Duality of sin.
yeah, it's got, let's see, what is its synopsis? Its synopsis is the year is 2242. Uh, Humanity was forced to seek refuge deep underground due to the unprecedented calamity known as the Tears of the New Moon. But following the
What?
collapse of the underground city-state Amasia, they've begun to venture towards the surface with hope of living there once more. So let's see. Forming settlements called nests scattered across the surfaces. Adventurers known as drifters. Okay, yeah. Again, classic mall description. That sucks. So instead of reading whatever fucking awful grammar this is, I'll just freestyle it. Um, yeah. So basically, people were living underground. Now they're not anymore. After some calamity, the calamity seems to be similar to like what is it, like Death Stranding with the timefall shit, in that rain is toxic. Except now, instead of the rain causing you to age, monsters come out. And those monsters are known as enders, and they're weird purple things. And I don't know what they are. Uh, but basically, like mercenaries called drifters hunt those and go after things called AO crystals, which are an energy source. And then they bring them back to the
Ayo?
dome cities
Okay.
called Nest. Yeah, AO.
Okay.
Hey
Um,
yo.
yeah.
Hey.
Let's
Wait,
see. In the Nest Rock.
is this a oh wait, so is this a mobile game
No.
or
This is this is gonna be an action game. This is gonna be like an action
oh,
game where
so
you
this is gonna
pilot
be
the
like a
mech and
full
shit.
game. It's
Yeah,
not just
yeah.
gonna
Yeah,
be
it's like a
This is a
mech.
full
It's
like
like a mech
release.
action game.
Yeah, it looked pretty interesting. But yeah, so get into that after. But so yeah, so the main story focuses on Kanata, and he finds. Actually, I'll get to that. But anyway, so yeah, drifters, they're basically mercenaries. They gather the crystals, bring them back to nests. Our story takes place in a nest called Rocktown, which is pretty much like a lot of drifters just all live there, and kind of like compete for who can gather the most or like largest crystals, and get rewarded based on that. And so our main character, Kanata, is there with another drifter, Tokyo. And one day they go to explore some ruins of an old museum, where he finds a sleeping girl. Except she's a magus. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I am 7 episodes into this. I still am unclear. It's still unclear as to what a magus is. It is not in the synopses, and I forgot to Google it. However, they seem to be synthetic humans, synthetic humanoids, except they can age, maybe? Because one was younger at one point in a flashback. So, not really sure what that's all about. But they got these weird metal things on their neck. They can, like, put on, like, they got, like, I don't even know what to call it, like a bodysuit button, essentially. And they
is this another one of those series where like um what was it? You know how it's like the guy has like a companion girl next to him that like powers him up or whatever? Stuff like that,
So for the main
like
character,
that one Chinese series and like the
yeah,
Tactopus shit and stuff like that. It's
yeah.
like that.
So for the main character, yes. However, for everyone else, that is not how Magus are. Magus come in all shapes and sizes and all kinds of personalities. The like supporting character
So
friend, raunchy
looking
guy
at
has
like
like
the
a butler.
game, I'm looking at the game, right? And Magus just seems to be almost like a pawn from Dragon's Dogma. Like
Yeah.
they're like an
Oh, so
AI
you could
kind of
just
thing.
fully customize them or
I'm
something?
not
Or...
sure, but
Oh, okay,
it
so
seems to
yeah,
have like that sort of role where like they're your partner.
yeah. So
And
so the
they
way
kind of
Magus
just
function.
float. They kind of just float behind or beside your mech. They seem to be holograms in the game.
Oh, so the
Um,
game must take place later because in the show that's a big deal that there's like a guy whose Magus can do that. So what happens
right.
is in the mechs there's a slot in the back that the Magus lay down in, and they call it like the coffin. Um, and when they're in that, they can interface with the Drifter pilot that's in like a like pseudo VR setup inside of the mech. But when you have a Magus slotted in, like the whole mech, essentially, you see it like sort of like bleed out and just become a full 360 view, like display, essentially.
Right.
And I guess the implication is more that you're like fully in tune with the mech at that point. Um, and so then the Magus can provide support by, just general like targeting and shit like that. However, the show introduced the like sort of hologram aspect and like elemental manipulation. So I'm not really sure where that's gonna go. But
Huh.
that does appear to be possible. And like I said, the Magus can come in all shapes and sizes. There is a butler. There is a what do you call it? There is a lolly character. There is a um what do you
Wait, so
call it? Almost like a
when you're talking about like the
Joe-sama.
butler, and like the law, they're all like the functionalities are similar in terms of like they're like made
Oh
for
yeah,
combat,
they're
but you're
they're
not.
all the same functionality
But like
combat wise.
the designs, the aesthetic
Yeah,
designs are different.
aesthetics and like their personalities and obviously and stuff like that. Like none of them are really robotic. Like the butler does like, fill the role of a butler as well when not uh fulfilling the role like in the coffin.
Oh, okay,
Um,
okay. So they're like supposed to be sort of quote unquote regular human beings or regular like
yeah, they're very
people
human.
ish.
They are not. That's why it's like kind of
Okay.
hard to get a read on them exactly what they are at this point. Because the series, like the show itself, has not really like told us flat out. I don't believe, unless I missed something. It kind of just like takes a lot for granted. And let me see. And then like I said, there was a very confusing scene where one of them like grew up with Tokyo, one of like the main characters, and like she looked younger in a flashback, like working on a farm. So it's like I don't understand
Oh.
how they age because it also doesn't seem like they do age from like a lot of from other characters. So because I think the implication is like the butler's always been there and hasn't aged. So it's very interesting. Um but yeah, so I did like that. And then Noir. So after our main character finds Noir, obviously our main character is a very bad drifter, He's not really a drifter. He kind of just tunes up shit. Because he doesn't have a Magus. And his what did they even I don't remember what they call the mechs either. It doesn't even say in the breakdown. I forget what the hell they're called. Um, because yeah,
Um,
there are a lot of fucking there. There's a lot of buzzwords in this series.
yeah,
Yeah,
the
there's like
game, the game
Because
site
like
calls them cradle coffin.
crate. So are they cradles and then the coffins are the back?
I don't know. Yeah, you're asking me, bro. I'm just reading from the game site. Like,
Hmm. Okay. Well, fuck it. Whatever. So I'll just refer to it as coffins at this point, to be honest. Actually, you know what? Yeah, no, they probably all are just coffins because one is referred to as a pure white coffin at one point, and it's just a pure white mech. Um, but yeah, so it kind of goes the route that you would expect. He finds this girl, then she's like kind of a ditz, and can't do anything really right outside of the mech, like very clumsy. She's like the airhead type, but she's also like the aloof Koga Aoi voice, things like that.
yeah, the classic.
Yeah, and so what would you say? But then when she gets in the coffin, she kind of like can outpace, you know, any other coffin, and in fact like overwhelms the scrap, like the scrap together coffin the main character has at first. So
Mhm.
pretty typical story in that aspect. I think of what else major things. So yeah, as far as story
What wait, what's the
goes,
studio behind this again? What's the studio? It's 8
This is
bit?
Studio
Okay.
8-bit. Yeah. So as far
Okay.
as the story itself goes, I would say it's like kind of mid. It's a little too fast, I would say. Like it doesn't really kind of like build the world enough, I feel. It kind of just puts you in. I feel like this may have been slated to come out alongside the game or maybe a little bit after the game and then the game got delayed, but then this didn't for some reason. If I had
Mhm.
to like take a guess, because this does not feel like something that would be releasing before the game. Though I assume now, judging from what the game is, this takes place either alongside or before the game as well. But as far as like setting you up to understand what the fuck is going on, definitely feels like the game was supposed to be
Um,
played alongside it or before it.
Apparently this takes place after,
After the
because
game?
the game, yeah, the game, like literally just states that it takes place in 2222.
Oh, okay. So yeah, there you go. Like you were probably supposed to play the game before watching this then. Uh
Maybe.
yeah, so it doesn't, I don't know, it's very odd. It introduces it because it also feels like it's introducing characters at certain points as if you should know them. Like
Right.
or like know certain aspects about them or like factions. So there is that. Obviously, you could be wrong about that, but that is a little bit unfortunate. This is a much more lighthearted series than I expected. I expected there to be some edge, but ultimately, this winds up feeling more akin to like a more kid oriented show in a way, a young like a much younger audience.
What do you mean by that?
Um,
Oh, okay.
like a teen, like a very young teen, or a like
Mhm.
preteen type like thing, because like there's like very much like enemy of the week
How would you
type.
compare this to like gonna build like try you know what I mean? It's like
This is like, so this is definitely
Gundam Build
not as
Fighters?
kid
Like
friendly,
how would you
but this
okay.
has like certain vibes of it with the way they're introducing enemies. Like certain enemies like show like a certain like antagonist will show up, and I'm like, this feels like a fucking Pokemon like antagonist. Like this feels like a Pokemon gym leader that just fucking showed up or
Mhm.
something. I'll link a picture of the guy in the chat, and he gets like humbled very quickly in an episode. Like he's like a villain of the week, like an antagonist of the
Dude,
week,
that's like
but
a
that like no
Pokemon
one's
shit. That's
yeah,
like a
so
Pokemon
far
gym
no
leader.
one's like yeah, like so far no one's died, no one's gotten like critically injured. Um
Okay.
People kind of like fight to stalemates and then run off, things like that. Obviously that could change, but so far it is a much lighthearted tone. Now, the other problem with that lighthearted tone is this series is super fucking heavy on like trying to do lewd humor and like raunchy humor, but it is
Mhm.
awful. And I do not like, I don't want to stress that enough. It is like
What do you mean by that?
it's just so like low brow. It's so fucking lazy.
Like Lucky
Like
Skibbe kind
there,
of shit, or
dude,
like what are you talking?
there is a an entire fucking episode that keeps running back to the bit of like uh the main character's friend Tokyo wanting to take him to like a red light district, and
What?
I forget exactly what he says in the message, but it was translated as like boing boing, so it might have been opie or something.
Is this
Um
just is this just like the worst cutouts the scenes that didn't make it into Seitokai Yakundo or something? Is
Pretty
that
much, like
what it
it's
is?
it's it's like the lowest common denominator, like the lowest fucking thing you could get from like a rom-com series with that type of shit. Like it is just it's and again, like I said, it keeps like doing that bit once. I'm like, okay, yeah, like they're doing like she's the aloof like amnesiac that doesn't know like doesn't even get like the sexual reference like going on here. And they
Yeah, yeah,
keep
yeah.
doing that over and fucking over again. And that's just one episode. This happens every episode. There is like oh man, dude, there's like a first time joke that runs throughout the first episode. It runs in the like second episode. It's pretty much actually been in almost every single episode where our main character is a virgin. But our Sundere main wants to get with him, Ellie. But now he's paired up with Noir. And also, by the way, the implication is that you could fuck a magus, so there is that too. So I really don't know what's going on there. And like that leads to like the more and more like rom-com, like love triangle type things. And there's like misunderstandings galore. Just anything you could possibly fucking think of, this series has tried to do within like 6 episodes. And it's not good. It's the worst part of the show because of how unbelievably fucking lazy it is. And just like
Has
completely uninspired.
has
And
this
this is the
Ada
writer
character shown up?
for Ada. Fucking Ada. Oh,
She's on the
ADA?
mall. Yeah, she's on the mall page.
Oh, actually, you know what? No, not in the first 6 episodes.
Cause she's the main character of the game, it seems.
Okay.
Like she's the Magus from game. So I was
Okay, I'm
just
gonna be
curious if
honest with
she'd
you. This is
shown up
seeming,
yet.
yeah. This is again okay. So I think the theory that that game got fucking delayed massively,
Yeah.
but they didn't delay this is even stronger. But yeah, she has not shown up in what I've seen yet. I'm sure she's shown up by the time like if I fully caught up. But I did only watch the first like 6 episodes. But this is thankfully this is very heavily action oriented. Which is
Yeah, I
CG.
was about to ask what is the balance between or balance in the episodes between
Well,
the
actually, I can't even say
action.
that. It is a lot of character interaction, and then usually like the second half
So
of the episode
can
is
I
like
okay? Can I
actiony,
so is
or like
it
second or
more
like
about
last
like the
third.
interactions and them bouncing off of each other, or is it a lot of exposition and background narration and stuff like that? Because
No,
from
honestly,
this series seems like a
unfortunately, it's
lot of
way more of them bouncing off of each other, which has
okay, okay.
not been very great. Um,
Oh,
like I
that's
said,
actually
it
way
hasn't
more
it
unfortunate
hasn't
because
like
it would have been bad if it was just character exposition. But like character interactions are better than character exposition, in my opinion, as just like a general rule of thumb. But if the character interactions are then bad, then it's just like we're
yeah,
done. We can't do
unfortunately,
this.
our character interactions 90% of the fucking time are boobies. Boobies? Hey,
I like
boobies, you ever heard of
those.
them? Hey,
Yeah.
hey, gamers.
Boobs.
You know about boobies? That's crazy,
Is
isn't
it
it?
is it better than
Virginity? Losing that?
Darling in the Franks though?
Um, no, because like Darling in the Franxx is just a better series in general. But
mean,
I
at least
will
Darling in the
say, I
Franxx
mean,
has,
Darling in the
like,
Franxx was like fucking
themes and
insane
a
I
plot.
as
never,
well. Like,
I
yeah,
never thought
Darling
I
in the
would see the
Franxx was
day where we're
fucking
comparing stuff to
ridiculous.
Darling in
At
the Franxx, and we're
least,
like,
like,
Yeah,
at
I
least
mean,
Darling in the Franxx was okay. Like,
well, because this shit is at like at least like Darling in the Franxx
yeah,
had the decency to be at like fucking 15 out of 10 instead of just being
decency
at
to
10.
have a story.
Well, no, but it also had the decency to
actually have a
turn
story.
things up like past the limit,
yeah, I mean, it
where
was
you're
it was
just
balls to
watching
the
this and
wall,
you're like,
right?
this is fucking psychotic. Like, what are you doing? Whereas this is
Yeah,
just like
exactly.
so basic that it's fucking boring.
mediocre. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just like it doesn't add anything to the series. It's almost like they're towing the line in some points too, because they do have a well, first of all, it doesn't even make any sense because like one episode they dedicate entirely to like this becoming one thing, and it's a very lewd thing between like this Onesan and like the lolly
baby.
magus like baiting, like goading the main character. But then she's like, oh no, haha, just kidding. Instead of doing that, you could also just like, you know, essentially do a fucking test of courage through a maze city. And then that turns out to be like a setup or something. It's like an urban legend. Like if you go through this maze together, then you grow closer with your magus. But prior to that being revealed, I was like, so like, did our second main character like fuck his butler? Like, what are you talking? Like, what do you mean? Like, why are you trying to make it like this? Like, what? Because, you know, if you want to make it that way, sure, but something tells me that's not what this series is about. Because then also our other main character is in like a gay relationship with his like CIA coded magus. Like, what's going on here? Like, what do you like? Why are you being lewd with? Because, well, that's what I mean. It's like they introduce like a lewd element to like quote unquote like becoming one with your magus, and then brush it off that like you could also do it by like going through that maze or like growing together like in combat to like become in sync, become one. But it's just like, why would you like introduce it this way when like half of your cast has the same exact like the same gendered magus? Do you know what I mean? Like there is a like Ellie has a female magus. The two other main like male lead characters have male maguses. Like what? Like what do you mean? Like are these twinks just getting smashed by their fucking 7 feet tall maguses? I mean, again, if you want to introduce that, sure, but it's like I don't think that's what you mean. Like I don't think that's actually what you're trying to do.
Maybe
here.
it's exactly what they mean.
Listen, that would be kind of wild. Like that'd be bold. That'd be a bold move. That'd be interesting. But again, I don't think that's what they intend. But see, like that I feel like is the perfect example of where
to jump the shark a little bit too much.
Well, it's not even just jump the shark. It's just like yeah, it's a lot of like we need to get like the raunchy, like the rom-com, like lewd humor in. And it's like, bro, like none of this is working. Like this fucking sucks. This is the worst part of this series because it's just out of fucking nowhere. Also, what's odd is that I would assume that's not going to be all over the place in the game, or this is going to be the most obnoxious video game you've ever fucking played. So it's like, why are you doing it in the show? I think I know why. I think it's because you know, the Gotoboon writer is a fucking hack. But that's just me.
Yeah. Bro, he's got
I just don't get it. I just don't get it. Hajime Kamishita is truly a mind that, you know, we just don't get it. I mean, it's a shame too, because like bro is doing too much. You know what I'm saying? Like dude made like Sakuraso, and it's like, okay, that was like kind of pushing the envelope, my man. Like that was good. It was satisfying. But realistically, like what was satisfying about Sakuraso was the sort of like creative dread experienced by all of the supporting characters. Not really the rom-com with the autistic girl. Like that was kind of
The idea was that
extremely supplementary.
The idea of failure within these
like the dynamics of failure with that cast was what was interesting there. And then Seishun Buta, like I did not get through much of, but was fucking boring.
That was
and I think the only reason why people like it, I think the only reason why people really like it is because it's very shiny. Which, you know, cool.
And there's like a lot of vague like imagery and like things that like make it seem like grandiose when it's just
Yeah,
like,
that's it's like a very
and
shallow.
people are
It's like
like,
a very
wow, it's so
shallow
deep.
coming of
You don't
age
understand.
story.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what to say. It's like, could we call Seishin Buta a fucking
I mean,
like
Seishin Buta
Fooly
was
Cooly for
like
dummies?
the appeal of Seishin Buta was basically the same as Snafu, right? Where like the MC was basically just like, you're stupid, and I'm gonna solve all your problems by calling you an idiot. Like,
Yeah. Pretty much.
so
Yeah, he's
I
like the
hated Lord
aloof,
Gyro,
the
yeah.
fucking like subdued MC.
yeah,
But he doesn't have black hair, so he's actually even
it's true.
cooler. He's actually more interesting, and he's not a
Amazing.
fucking Mary Sue. But yeah, so all of that sucks. All of that drags down the series. It makes it really fucking obnoxious. It makes it borderline unwatchable. But what claws back points is the 8-bit is doing a lot of good stuff. I think visually it's a very interesting style for the characters. I think they look very good. I think they're very stark. It almost looks like a God Eater type thing in parts of it. The shading's quite nice. I forget who did the character designs. I think I think Neko. Yeah, Neko did the character designs. And then the mech designs were by what's his name? He did a lot of the mech design. He does a lot of Gundams. Mech designer. Oh yeah, Gyobu. Which for those who don't know, he's done. I mean, most recently, Ipe Gyobu is the designer for all of the. What do you call it? What were that? The Guel, from Witch from Mercury, like all the Jeturk mechs. So he designed literally all of those.
He did a lot of the recent like Gundam slash like mecha stuff like which for Mercury obviously, Bill Divers, IBO,
Yeah, he
Reconquista,
did all the
Anime.
Delanzas from Witch from Mercury. He did Darabald and Shorzet. He's done
He did the gear design for Megalovox. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Dark,
So
what's your favorite Ipe design?
what's my favorite Ipe design?
Yeah.
I mean, this is recency bias, but honestly, the short set from Witch from Mercury is fucking clean, dude. Like, it's super nice. Like, I gotta give it to that one.
That's fair. What about you, Nier? You like Ipe, don't you?
I don't know. I can't really think of a design that he specifically did off.
What about Moon Gundam, Nier? You like Moon Gundam?
Is that the one? Is that the one with what?
You like Moon Gundam? I like Moon Gundam.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, Moon Gundam has some good designs, other than the Zaku 4. Zaku 4 is weird. Here, let me post the Zaku 4.
But yeah, he did a lot of Iron Blooded Orphan
This-
designs. A lot of his designs are very
Look at
like
this chunker.
yeah, they're very a lot. He does a lot of very chunky designs as well.
I mean, look at those.
Which is another
Look at the
highlight
Zaku 4's
is-
feet.
That's a thick
Look at those.
boy.
Look at those feet.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can kind of tell with like a lot of the mechs in this series, they're very like top heavy. It's a very interesting silhouette idea for a mech, I feel like, where it's very blocky in the center, with the coffins, and then with the arms and legs with no real discernible head. Something like that. I think that's a very interesting choice. There are like more advanced what would you call it, like sleeker coffins as well, which look more like they're made out of I guess you could say it's sleeker in the sense of instead of being like the thicker centers, they almost look like they have bits of them that are like Gundams. Uh, like if you would look at the chest of really any Gundam that Ipe has designed, it's kind of got like almost that going on with it. It almost looks like a what would you call it? Like the half transform across at that point. Um, with how sleek parts of it can get. So overall, like they have a large bit of variety. Aesthetically, they're pretty cool too because some of the show has like a what would you call it? Like graffiti post-apocalyptic style kind of thing going on with some of these, like with some of the drifter mechs, where they look like they could be like classified as like raiders or something, even though they're your main cast. What would you call something like that? It's kind of like how what would you call like Zenless Zone Zero is, or like Cyberpunk is. I don't even know like what that sort of aesthetic would be, but it's very like loud colors and graffiti type shit going on. But that's quite nice. That aspect's really cool. 8-bit is doing pretty well with the 3D CG. It's not the best blending and it's not the best CG in general. But its motion is quite nice. Its animations are quite nice. The effects are pretty good.
It's a has 8-bit done any other like mecha-ish Gundam stuff?
I want to
Because
say
you know how a lot of studios
did, right? It was like a really
like a lot of you could kind of tell the difference between a studio that has quite a history with mechas, such as again something like a Gainax or a Sunrise or whoever Production IG or whoever, right? And
as
studios that are a little bit unfamiliar. You know what I mean?
yeah, so I mean they did Comet Lucifer, right? I think that had a mech, right? Like isn't that not insane, right? Like correct, like
So
that is
Shinki was kind of like that, right? I think. Oh
yeah. So
wait,
they did Knights and
for
Magic.
Stratos. They did it for the Stratos
Oh,
too.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is this is even a step up from Knights and Magic, which did pretty well. Um so yeah. So I would say like, you know, they know what they're doing. It would obviously like, you know, if we could ask for the world, it would have been nicer to have like a little bit more blending, to give them a little bit more time for that. But overall, I feel like you can't really be too upset with it. A lot of the mechs
You
look
also have
good
to remember
anyway.
this is a Bandai Namco project, so who knows how much time, money they were actually getting.
Yeah, plus I mean like between, you know, the CG and like it being these like Ipigyo designs and shit like that, it's like a lot of them are pretty fucking detailed, so it's like, you know, that would have been a lot. That would have been a hell of an undertaking to sink into this. And I think the other notable thing is the I guess the sound directing. The sound directing in the show is really good. The music in the show, I'm assuming, are going to be in the game because it sounds very game OST. I mean, like pretty much all the songs sound very much like game OST type things, because they sound very distinct, right? A lot of the combat tracks. One of them is a vocal track, or has like vocal samples in it that you really wouldn't expect to be used more than once, and well, they use it more than once, but it very much sounds like something you would get out of like a game in a major point. Same thing with a lot of the other tracks. They very much sound like, you know, like this is going to be music featured in the game.
Right. Okay. I guess. Wait. How was the opening and ending?
I mean, visually, the OPs and EDs are really nothing to write home about. Song wise, they're pretty nice, but I mean, it's a Bandai game, so it's just, you know, hey, what fun music can we fucking what's it called, license? And it's, you know, they have Stereo Die Foundation with Ray Tracer for the opening, and Eureka by Arcana Project for the ED. So it's like, you know, these are probably going to be the openings and like another song featured in the game as well, I assume, very much in the same way,
Yeah.
like,
Although the
you know,
game
like
will
the
probably have
Dead
its
Eye
own
is
like
done
opening,
with like
maybe.
everything. Oh, it'll definitely have its own
Yeah.
opening visually. I feel like song-wise they might wind up using it though. But I mean, we'll see. We'll see. It just does. It certainly does feel that way though. That this is just, you know, kind of aping a lot of the stuff that the game is going to have. And yeah. So.
All right. I guess any last words on the series / Mal rating?
I mean, I think the Mal rating coming in at a 6.75 honestly is like the most accurate thing you could say about this series. Like it's I feel like it is super accurate. If not should have been like a 6.5. A little bit lower. Like I said, some like the story is pretty standard. The world is not built upon enough and is very interesting in it. So I feel like maybe uh ultimately like I would rather play the game, to be honest. This has me more interested in the game than anything else. And like seeing
Okay.
the world
Well, I
space in
mean,
the
that's sort
game.
of what the anime is supposed to do, anyways.
I mean, that's what it's supposed to do, but it's not doing it the correct way. Like I'm interested in the game because I'm like, wow, this world space is really good, and I really want to know more about it. And the show is not telling me any more about it. And these characters are interactions are largely fucking unbearable. So maybe the game will be better. Interestingly, with the game though, is that it's like actual art style is very odd. Compared to like I forgot genuinely compared to the show. Its characters are in a more like Star Ocean / Fantasy Star style. With that like what would you call it? Like untune shaded, like uncell shaded anime 3D type stuff.
Oh,
I don't really know
I
what
think
else
I
to
know
like
what you're talking
compare it
about, but I
to.
don't know what the name.
I think like
Yeah.
Xenoblade's like that now too, right? I want to say the most recent Xenoblades are also similar in that
I mean,
capacity.
Xenoblade's a bit more
It has a bit
cartoony,
more
cel shaded,
yeah, right.
but yeah,
This is
it's got
very
that
much like
sort of
none.
it's got that sort of mix of like realism and anime style.
Yeah, this is like no tune shading for you, my friend. No, sir. Yeah, this is very much like Star Ocean / like Fantasy Star NGS without the new tune shading shit. Which might look weird. I don't know. I'll have to see. Could be fine. Definitely odd to remind myself of that after watching the show. Because I'm not really sure how certain character designs would even work in the game that are in the show, not being in a more tune like anime style characters, but I guess that's left to be seen. But yeah, overall, I think, like I said, the 6.5 is pretty accurate. The redeeming aspects are kind of like the fights are pretty fun, the mech designs are really interesting, some of the world is really interesting. But unfortunately, the thing that's kind of driving it home is a lot of really obnoxious character interactions, really just dog shit writing.
Yeah,
And some of
that's
the
like really kind of
fucking
unfortunate.
lowest, most basic humor possible. So
It's kind of similar to what I was
yeah,
describing with Liar Liar before, where it was just like the theme, the games, stuff like that was fine, but then all of the characters inside of it were just not good. It was just not good. So
yeah. The moment a character opens their mouth, I want them to shut up. Like for the most part. When it's like I should say like when it's not doing all of the bullshit of like the trying to do the lewd humor, like the raunchy humor, it's fine and it's like good. But it does unfortunately it does a lot of the lewd humor, like a fucking lot, and a lot of misunderstandings. So that's kind of an unfortunate aspect.
yeah. Oh well. Anyways, thank you, Dark, for again helping to review Synduality Noir. When we first previewed it, I'm pretty sure we were just like we kind of put it to the side because we were just like, oh, this is just another freaking game adaptation or a multi-product adaptation, and it's like a little bit weird, but it's probably not going to be anything good. But it's interesting
Yeah,
to
I mean it's
see
better
that
than expected because like, the
better than
bar
expected, but it's not a masterpiece, but at least the designs kind of turned out well. So um
yeah, I mean it
pretty
did technically do its job. It got me interested in the game. So,
yeah. But yeah, anyways, again, thank you for reviewing the series. Again, this is a part of a multimedia project helped published slash I guess produced overall by Bandai Namco, but obviously the anime itself, the production was headed by 8-Bit Studio. So if you want to check out some mech designs, I guess you can watch the series or even just play the game later when it comes out.